This is Judge Janine Pirro. You're watching Fox and Friends. Be seated.
All right.
When the judge tells you to do something, you do something.
You do it.
Absolutely
As
true.
a lawyer, Peter,
you absolutely pay attention.
Do you ever get angry at a judge?
Never.
Never?
Never.
Peter Johnson Jr. is here this morning. Nice to see you this morning, Peter.
Good to see you.
Great to have you in Tucker today.
Thank you.
First, we've got to start with this Fox News alert. Federal officials now warn that ISIS could hit inside America as revenge for U.S. airstrikes.
The White House saying this well-funded and sophisticated terror group may now be planning a 9/11 style attack on the West. For more, we go live to Jennifer Griffin in Washington. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. The Pentagon says it has not seen any sign that ISIS terror cells have crossed the southern border into the United States. But those who have been watching this group grow in strength say the latest intelligence suggests the group is planning an attack on the U.S. homeland.
They're crazy out there, and they are rapidly developing a method of blowing up a major U.S. city, and people just can't believe that's happening. ISIS, they are really bad terrorists. They're so bad that Al-Qaeda is afraid of them.
We must prepare for everything, and the only way you do that is you take a cold, steely, hard look at it and get ready.
The president may now be regretting his choice of words back in January when he mocked ISIS in an interview with The New Yorker. Quote, "The analogy we use around here sometimes, and I think is accurate, is if a JV team puts on Lakers uniforms, that doesn't make them Kobe Bryant." The White House yesterday from Martha's Vineyard suggested the U.S. is prepared.
To date, we have not seen them focus on that type of planning. But that doesn't mean we're not going to be very mindful that they could quickly aim to pivot to attacks against Western targets outside of the region.
Meanwhile, another al-Qaeda-linked group in Syria, a rival to ISIS, has released a new kidnapping video today showing Lebanese soldiers who they are threatening to kill if Iranian-backed Hezbollah fighters don't stop helping Syrian President Bashar Assad. Another example of how these jihadist groups are holding the entire world hostage. Peter, Anna, Clayton.
All right, Jennifer Griffin live for us this morning in D.C. Thanks so much, Jennifer. Governor Mike Huckabee joins us now on this Kirby couch. Nice to see you this morning, Governor.
Good morning, all. Good morning, Governor.
Hi. Now, break down this week for the president. Some have called this maybe one of the worst weeks of his presidency, and he's been golfing for most of it, so I don't know that he's really been clued into it. But how did the president get the threat of ISIS so wrong when just a few short months ago he called this threat junior varsity?
Well, I think we've decimated a lot of the personal aspects of intelligence gathering. We focus more on the whiz-bang approach to electronic eavesdropping. There's a value to that, but the best intelligence is always going to be that which is on the ground, which is human intelligence. And the cutbacks to the agency, the CIA and intel agencies, I think has been very harmful. We need to be beefing it up at a time when the world's a very dangerous place. This president hasn't understood that. And I think the most important thing to realize is the naivete of this administration overall. This is a president who said, Osama bin Laden is dead and GM is alive. Well, it turns out that the spirit of Osama bin Laden is more alive than it's ever been, and GM is barely hanging on by a thread after all it's been through.
Well, with regard to Osama bin Laden, we had the bin Laden hunter on. He's an expert on Mideast policy, Michael Scheuer, and he came up with a solution. I'd like you to hear it and then comment on what we should be doing to fight back against ISIS.
Mr. Obama, in the name of law and order, has blinded us by stopping the rendition program and stopping interrogation. So we're in a much worse fix than we were 10 years ago. We also have to learn how to kill people. We don't kill enough of the enemy and their supporters. And until we come back to that realization, we're going to be defeated consistently.
So Michael Scheuer is saying rendition, interrogation, and kill the people that want to kill us.
You know, it sounds harsh when you hear Michael Scheuer say that, but the fact is this is a kill or be killed moment for us. These are not people who think like we think. When anybody can look at the horrific scenes of the beheading of Jim Foley and not understand what we're up against. Now think about this. It's not just that they did it. They put it on video and proudly showed it to the world. That tells us what we need to know about these people. You cannot reason with them, deal with them, compromise, negotiate. You kill them or they kill you. It's just that simple.
Seeing this video, is this something that's going to force the president's hand, and is that what has caused him to take any sort of action to begin with? I mean, you think about 2012 along the campaign trail, bragging about not leaving a residual force there, going against his senior advisors in the Secretary of Defense by not arming Syrian rebels. Is he not listening to his advisors? What's the problem here?
He clearly is not. And with all the respect that I have for the military, one thing I don't understand is why some senior military people have not resigned in protest. Privately and quietly, you hear their outrage and their disgust as military people, understanding what we could do, what we should do, but what they're not allowed to do because this administration wants to pretend that the narrative is still, this president has made us safer, and this world is a much more dangerous place than it was when he took office in 2009.
Governor, I'm curious what you would do as president. If you were in the White House, given this scenario, the United States doesn't negotiate with terrorists. We don't funnel money to them, as the United States hasn't done. Other countries do. But I want to get your response to something that Jim Foley's brother had to say in an interview with Yahoo News about maybe our lack of motivation and trying to get his brother back. Take a listen.
The United States could have done more on behalf of the Western and American hostages over there. Other nations have done that, and that's been a source of frustration for me. And I really hope that in some way Jim's death pushes us to take another look at our approach, our policy to terrorist and hostage negotiations. We are sitting on prisoners, for example, in Guantanamo. It doesn't even have to be financial.
Okay, unpack that a little bit, Governor, and maybe how would you have done it differently if you were in the White House?
Well, first of all, let's understand, Jim Foley's brother has a right to be hurt. He's in pain. The entire family has every right to say anything and everything they want to. Whether or not it's a good idea to negotiate with terrorists, I would strongly disagree with. Hostage swaps, not a good idea, because all that does is encourage the taking of more hostages so that they can get more of what they want. Again, we're not dealing with rational, reasonable people. We're dealing with savages. We're dealing with people who are, they're not insane in the classic sense of needing psychotherapy. They're insane in the sense that they are crazed and unable to process like we do. So here's what I think we should be doing. We should be making it very clear. Number one, we're not going to tolerate these Arab nations like Saudi Arabia sitting back on their hands, who themselves are being threatened by this, and letting us fight their battle for them. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of us making them obscenely rich, and then with the money that they get from Americans who have been buying their oil for our last 100 years, then they turn around and fund these clowns. We need to say to them, you get in this fight, or we're done with you. We're done with you. We're going to develop our own energy. We'll make you poor again. And then when they overrun you, we're just going to say, good luck with that. That's what we need to start with. We have allowed these other Middle Eastern countries to let us police their neighborhoods, and they have invested not one drop of their blood. That's got to stop. That's the first thing. And until that happens, I think that there's nothing else to be done.
Well, the president might be on vacation, but Governor Mike Huckabee is not. Who do you have coming up on the show tonight at 8 p.m.?
Well, Colonel Bill Cowan will be with us. We'll be talking about the latest in ISIS, but we also have the former police chief of Seattle, and he was, of course, the police chief during the WTO riots that were just so brutal. And he has a very different perspective. He said he has now had time to think about it, and he would do it very differently. We'll talk to him about it and see how would it apply to situations like Ferguson tonight.
Well, it's always a great show.
Thank you very much, Peter. Great to be with you guys today.
Governor Huckabee, thank you.
Good to see you.
And speaking of Ferguson, that's where we start with our news headlines this Saturday morning. Reverend Al Sharpton holding a march against police brutality in New York City today. After speaking out in Ferguson, Missouri over the death of Michael Brown, Sharpton is holding the rally for Eric Garner, who died last month. But many think he's not the right voice and is just fanning the flames. Pastor Robert Jeffress weighed in earlier on Fox and Friends.
Al Sharpton is prostituting his pastoral position by using the unrest in Ferguson to further his own agenda. Those of us who are pastors, we have a responsibility to speak words that bring healing, not divisions.
Sharpton has insisted that today's protest will be peaceful.